Thank you so much. Well, like Pastor Matt was saying, this is where my heart is. I was actually thinking I could come to church here because I left Orlando yesterday at 4:30, was here by 8. I could go to church in the morning, get on a plane at like 3, and I'm back home. This is awesome. Yeah. The song by Joel that he wrote himself, it's my new favorite song. I got to hear it 3 times today, so that was really cool. And what I love about the Dream Center, about this church, is the encouragement. How many of you would like to have had parents like Pastor Caroline, Pastor Matt, where your son comes up and says, you as a kid, I'm awesome. How many of you would like to have parents like that are encouraging you that much? And there really is a spirit of encouragement here that's incredible, and I've just seen what it does to people. I'll tell you, if there's any spirit of anything to have over your home, over your church, over your business, it's a spirit of encouragement, and really love that about this place. So thanks for having me. So who's ready to get healthy? Who's ready to get ripped? Who wants to be happier in 2015? Who wants more money in 2015? More money in 2015? Well, listen, you can get all 4 when you bring together the power of God and living by his intentions. When you have the right lifestyle and God in your life, it's like supercharged. There's something freakishly supernatural that occurs that allows all of that to happen. So if it's seeming like it's impossible now, hopefully over the next 25 minutes we'll turn that thinking around. When you think about success and what it takes, whether it's relationships or spirituality or your health or your business, whatever it is, there really is like this jet fuel propulsion that happens when you're taking good care of yourself, when you're fit and you're healthy. Would you not agree with that? So, for example, you get up in the morning, you get a great workout, you drink a smoothie, and it's like, yes, you're ready to go, versus like you stayed up too late, you slept in, you drank like a keg of coffee and had an Egg McMuffin, and you're on the couch just going, to hell with my dreams. Like it really makes an enormous difference. My whole life has been about, what are you getting healthy for? There has to be a big why, a good reason. And we're getting healthy to serve God, to make a difference, to achieve our purposes, fulfill our destiny. There's a reason to be healthy. So that when I'm done, I'm hoping that when I say, so who's going to do the 5K or marathon, that everybody raises their hand because they want to do it for God. They want to do it for their family. Because, Mark 12:30-31, what is the most important law that they asked Jesus about? And he says, you know what? It's love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. We've got to have the strength to do it. And the second is like it, love your neighbor like yourself. If we're going to love God and love people, our health is important. The very first time I was asked to speak like this, I was flown all the way across the country to Winnipeg, Canada from Orlando. And when I got there, I asked the pastor, I said, why would you invest so much in bringing a health guy out to come speak at your church? He says, you know what, in this church we put fitness before faith. I said, well, man, that's crazy. I can't believe you would say that. What do you mean? He said, because I'm no good to God or my family if I'm sick or dead. And so when we get into this morning, it's for a big purpose. It's not just for abs. I was at a New Year's Eve party, and I asked some people, hey, you got any resolutions? And this one friend of mine who's, not in very good shape, doesn't work out, he says, you know what, this year I want to get ripped. I'm like, well, that might be stretching it a little bit. I don't know if ripped is going to happen this year. Ripped is like, six-pack. You don't mean that, do you? And I like what Pastor's doing here, getting better. We're going to get better and healthier this year. We're going to start that journey. My journey started in health back when I was 18 years old. I was an All-American wrestler in college, as Pastor mentioned, but I was trying to make the Olympic team. And at 18 years old, I was really messed up. My shoulder had been a real problem for about 4 years, to the point where now at 18, I had my arm stuck just about like this. My stomach had a bleeding ulcer. I was given a drug, an anti-inflammatory drug called Feldene, that burnt a hole in my stomach. I had a bad knee and a bad back. And I remember walking up the stairs in Albany, New York. It's minus 200 degrees. And I'm trying to get up the stairs, and they're icy, and my leg isn't working, and my back isn't working. I'm holding my stomach with one hand that's hurting. My shoulder's pinned here, and I'm thinking, man, it's like I'm ancient. I'm 18 years old. It's like I'm 125 trying to get up these stairs. And I was really despondent. I was in deep despair thinking, I can't get well. I'm never going to be well again. And of course, terrible problem to have in your life with a bad shoulder. I'm sure many of you would like to have that as your only big problem. But at the age of 18, when you're trying to, make the Olympic team and wrestling's your big goal in life, it was painful. And I didn't think I was going to make it through this. And what was worse is when I went in to see the doctor that day, he said, you know what, maybe it's time you just hung up your shoes. I still remember that 30 years later, hang up your shoes. I'm thinking, I am 18 years old and you want me to retire? And he goes, by the way, your arm, that shoulder is arthritic. I'm like, arthritic, that's for old people. You're saying I'm 18 with arthritis and I should hang up my shoes? And he actually, when he lifted his arm up to about here, he goes, this is about as far as you'll be able to get your arm up by about the time you're 30 or 40 years old. That's the miserable prophecy this guy laid out for me. And so I left there not believing I can get well. And I really wanted to start there with you because maybe that's where you're at right now. Here we are going to talk about health and fitness and a great new year, and you're thinking, well, man, I can't get well. You don't understand my problems. I've never been able to follow a healthy lifestyle. I can never stick to anything. Maybe you're believing that yourself, or maybe somebody else has told you that. Maybe a doctor has cursed you or condemned you and said, you're sick, that's permanent, or that problem in your foot or your knee is permanent, or you've got some ailment that doesn't allow you to exercise, or you can't eat well. Maybe somebody has said that to you. And I want to share with you today that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can overcome that. And I want to actually start off with, I'm going to bring out Ian. We give Ian a hand, please. Yep. Ian is he's going to be our wall. And Ian has had to do this 3 times today now, so I'm so thankful for Ian. He is my rock, my strong tower, my ever-present help in time of trouble. So he's going to help me do a little demonstration to show you where my shoulders are 30 years later. It's not exactly Cirque du Soleil, but not bad for 48. 3 decades after they said I was never going to be able to compete again. So God is good. And I kicked him right in the head that time. Went really well the first 2. I'm like, good thing I got a strong one. Danny was going to do this for me. Imagine I could have been kicking you in the head just now. Yeah. John 5. That's where the Genesis factor comes from, the whole name. I'm, of course, 18 years old in despair. It had been 3 or 4 years, hadn't been able to get well. But in John 5, Jesus finds a man who for 38 years had been an invalid, hadn't been able to move or take care of himself. So imagine where he's at in his life, that gentleman, what he thinks about his chances of getting well, of ever living a great life, having an abundant life, what his relationship with God would have been like at that point and what people had said to him. And Jesus comes up to him and says, do you want to be well? And so the Genesis factor is about that term, be well. What he actually says is genestai hugies, which means, would you like to be restored whole? It comes from the term Genesis from the Bible, which means to be made new, a new beginning. Would you like a new beginning? And Jesus has that same offer to each and every one of you today. In fact, he offers it to us every time we wake up in the morning. Would you like to be new today? Would you like a new beginning, to be renewed? So whatever you're thinking about the past in your health, would you like to be new? Would everybody like a new chance today? Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is Jesus actually throws it out there as a challenge. It's a question. Of course, the guy wants to get better. He's been laying around for 38 years. He says, would you like to be? He asked that challenge. And what's interesting is the guy doesn't actually say yes. If you read that scripture, he actually throws out excuses. He says, well, this healthcare system is really messed up. You got to be the first one in the water. It's really a mess. No one helps me. Lots of excuses came out instead. When Pastor asked about how many would know that you probably should go do the 5K or the marathon, right? I mean, shouldn't you probably go run that? It's for the church. It's for human trafficking. We should be conditioned enough to do it, but we have a reason we didn't. And Jesus is all about us overcoming those reasons, recognizing that we have the power and the strength to overcome the reason, that the power inside of us is greater than any circumstance outside of us. We understand that. So I'm asking you as we go through this today, and I'm going to give you some very practical things. We've got a few demos to go over, that you really begin to believe you can overcome the circumstance and be well, to be restored, to be new. And the good thing is everything's in the book. So in this book, we have all the recipes you need. There's actually how to go from the couch to a 5K in only 6 weeks. There's a marathon plan in there if you want to do the whole marathon. All the nutritional things, all the exercise, everything's in there. So we've really made it easy. We've got Dr. April here to help guide you through it. Got the support of an entire church. It's really not hard to get started. And Pastor actually asked me in the green room, how do you continue to stay so fit? And what I said to him is I'm always signed up for something. I'm always getting in shape for something. So if I don't have a race coming up, an event coming up, it can be hard for me to get up in the morning and exercise too. So it really is important. If you really do want to have a healthier 2015 and the rest of your life, you got to sign up for something. And what better thing to do than this race? One funny thing, in the first service, Pastor said there's in the marathon, the 5K, there's still seats available, which was really funny. And people were like, oh, you could sit through this. That sounds good. I'll sign up for that. So, but no, there are slots. You do have to move for the entire 5K or half marathon or a marathon. And yeah, I guess you can do a half marathon too. So let's get into food for a second. So how many are into food? Any people that like to eat here? So we want to talk about what we call food by God. There's foods that God intended for us to eat. In fact, the farther anything is from the way God made it to the where it looks now, like on your plate or in a box or in a can or whatever, the farther it is away from that, the more it's no longer food by God and it's now food by man. Jacques LaLanne, this picture, now that's ripped right there. So he's 270 in that picture. And he was still able to pull tugboats with his teeth. And he said, if God didn't make it, I won't eat it. Now that's a great first rule to take away from this morning's sermon, is if God didn't make it, don't put it in your body. It doesn't belong there. It's going to produce health if it's made by God, or at least close to that. When I was in college, I used to have to lose 20, 25 pounds to make weight for wrestling, and I didn't want to starve myself. And I found that if I ate whole foods, foods still in that natural state, I could eat all I wanted. I could eat like an elephant and still look like a gazelle. I could eat all I wanted and still lose weight. But as soon as I ate something refined or that had sugar or flour, the weight would come back on. It would be a struggle again. So I was in this weight loss laboratory that really pushed me at first to get my degree in nutrition. Now, one of the things about food by man is it's filled with toxins. And these are things that they're man-made. God never meant for them to be in your body, and they're virtually impossible for your body to process. And they sit in there, and they leach to fat, and they keep the fat on, and they have you gain more weight and get sicker in a way that's disproportionate to the calories in the food you're eating. One of the real scourges today is really these toxins in our food. In fact, toxins now, there's 3,000 preservatives, chemicals, toxins added to the food supply. There's over 10,000 chemicals used in preserving and processing and all that goes into the food manufacturing process. So this is in our food supply. So when I first started doing nutritional counseling way back when I was first getting out of nutrition school there, people had weight issues. This is back, in the 80s, but not like now. Now, because of the toxins, people put on excessive amounts of weight. I live near Disney World, and we actually were there the other day, and people go there really not for the rides, but for the food. That's why most people go to Disney, all this processed sugary food. And so people there are really big compared to what people would have been a long time ago. I actually saw an ad in the 1950s, and it had the guy who played the big man or the fat man at the carnival. And this guy today, this is in the 50s, today this guy would be like a medium at Walmart. Like this was not a big guy by today's comparison. And when I was at Disney the other day, I saw this really big guy get on the merry-go-round. I thought he might actually screw that thing into the ground because of how big he is. And this is all because of toxins. So there's a few good ways to avoid this toxic issue. First of all, we put the salad bar, like Pastor mentioned, in at the Dream Center. Yes, thank you. Big reason for that is if we were going to teach in a program that's about detoxing, getting healthy, you need the food to be able to do it. So in raw vegetables and fruits is something called glutathione, which is actually the detoxifying agent God puts in your cells. So glutathione actually detoxifies chemicals as they come into the system naturally. What happens, though, is that as you get exposed to toxins all the time, your body actually blows through all the glutathione and it gets minimized, which is why you got to put the raw fruits and vegetables back in your system. If you cook them, you can actually cook out all the glutathione, so you need the good raw stuff, again, just like God intended. So I want to do a little demo to help make this a little bit clear, because it really just makes sense, the types of food that you should be eating, this food by God we've been talking about. So first of all, just to get a basic understanding, this is going to represent your digestive system. So you got the big mouth at the top, and you got the little hole at the bottom where things come out maybe a few days later. So that's your digestive system. Now, first of all, this is, see this neon blue fluorescent stuff? Many people would call this a healthy drink because, you know, it's for sports people. This is anything that's neon blue or whatever this color is. It reminds me of, if you ever saw the first Batman and when Jack Nicholson fell in the toxic pool and it made him the Joker. Like, this is like what he fell in right here. And you need to know something about this healthy drink. This is 9 teaspoons of sugar. You can see it takes up a third of the glass. Same amount of sugar as is in Coke. So you've got that much sugar along with whatever turns Coke black or whatever turns that fluorescent blue. So obviously that's a good thing to avoid. That would be a food by man. Now what's interesting is a lot of people will say, well, then I know what I'll do. I'll do something sugar-free. I'd actually rather have you do the sugar than the sugar-free, because like here's Crystal Light. So people are saying, yeah, I want to cut calories to lose weight. And if you cut calories, you might lose weight, but you'll just die lighter. So if you read what's in this Crystal Light, then it says ingredients. Maltodextrin, which is a processed genetically modified corn agent. Aspartame, which is artificial sweetener. Anything in a yellow, pink, blue pack, these artificial sweeteners, are those food by God? So no matter what any piece of paper tells you, can it be good for you? You will not be pulling tugboats with your teeth when you're 270 if you're doing aspartame and sucralose and these kinds of things. Then at the end it says artificial color and red number 40. So again, not food by God. You know, we highly recommend coconut milk, coconut oil, coconut flour, but then this one is, you know, you got to watch your brand. So this says as some of the ingredients, it says guar gum E412. I don't like any numbers in anything I'm eating. Polysorbate 60, another number. Sodium methylbisulfite something. And that's the other thing. If you can't read it or understand it, you shouldn't eat it either. So that's another good point. Now, we also have pasta and grains, wheat, bread. These things are made, of various grains that are what they call genetically modified. So when God first made grain, it was how God made it. Now, when it's genetically modified, what that essentially means, it's so interesting. I've been using this piece of bread for 35 years now. It's still soft and good. It's still good, be tasty probably. So the wheat that made up this roll, this was made from genetically modified wheat. And so what happens essentially is that wheat is the great-great-great-grandson of some redneck wheat that married its sister. That's essentially what that means. That's what genetically modified is. And it becomes virtually non-digestible because they also take, of course, out the bran and all the stuff that's good for you, the germ. And so when you put this in your digestive system here, so you jam it in there, and it just kind of gets lodged into your intestines and your colon, and a few things happen at that point. Of course, toxins accumulate and it makes you feel bad. But if you try and put in like an apple, it has trouble being absorbed by the body because all that grain that's not digestible is all stuck in there and lodged in the intestine. You try and eat your celery, and the body can't really even absorb the nutrients. Like if you're doing things like celery or carrots, you're taking supplements, you can't absorb it because this stuff is stuck in there. In fact, really, you might as well just shove it in the other end because it just gets lodged in there anyways. Like that's where it ends up. Just cut out the middleman. So the point is we don't want food like that. And the great thing is with whole food, again, you don't have to worry about it. You can eat all you want. And I want to give you just three of the 7. We got 7 quick steps to make it easy in here. Everything, by the way, that I do, it's always how do I make your life easier, not harder to live than it is right now. We want to make your life better, which means it can't be like this stressful diet and exercise that I hate. It's all about it being good and fun. So we have these 7 quick steps. I want to give you 3 of the 7 just for time's sake. And the first one is we load up on berries, fruit in the morning, and when we load up on vegetables the rest of the day. All you want. Because they're designed for your body. Your body was designed for them. I've been doing nutritional counseling for 25 years. I got my degree in nutrition in the 80s. And so I've never had one time in that couple of decades where somebody came in for a nutritional analysis and I looked at their blood tests and their urine tests and I evaluated their diet and had them come back the next day and I said, I have found the problem, too much broccoli. We've got to cut back on the berries. You're eating too many green apples. Like, that's never the issue. In fact, I remember one time I was giving a lecture and somebody said, you know what, I heard you shouldn't drink water with your meal because it dilutes your digestive juices. I'm like, well, you know what, that's probably not your biggest problem. We just have to eat better things that God made. Water is still good for you. It's not going to be some weird thing. It's going to be just loading up on these good things. Now, I know as we talk about that kind of stuff, people get worried about a few things. One is they get worried about taste. Are you worried that taste would be an issue if you started trying to eat healthy? So that's a pretty common thing. Now, my parents really struggled with their diet, really struggled with their lifestyle because eating well for my parents meant going on a diet and then eating Melba toast for one thing. Anybody ever eat any Melba toast? I don't know who Melba is, but she makes some nasty toast. That is some nasty stuff. It's like cardboard. And then you ate carrot sticks and celery and cottage cheese. That used to be the thing they do, and they'd lose weight and gain it all back. And unfortunately, as a result, my dad died at 52, unable to ever stick to a healthy lifestyle. My mother had a stroke at 49. So I'm being on it not being that hard. I didn't want to be destined towards the same thing. So in fact, what we have in this book, for example, is nothing but dessert recipes. I was looking actually before I got up here, there's like 3 kinds of cookies, there's pudding, there's breads, there's pancakes, there's muffins. The difference is that our desserts are made without grain. They're made with coconut flour, they're made with almond flour, they're sweetened with stevia or xylitol. They're made with things that are actually good for you. So when you're eating a dessert that we're teaching, you're actually eating something good for you, but you're also enjoying it and you're not missing the things that you love. There's also 30 days of breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, so you're full and it tastes good. So it's not about that. The other thing that people worry about is cost. I mean, you worry about cost when you think of eating well. So, for example, I see like the ads for McDonald's, 99 cents. So yes, that's cheaper. 99 cents for a hamburger, that's cheap. But what is that thing? I mean, the paper costs some money that it's wrapped in. The bag it's put in costs money. Whatever that bun's made out of costs money. So by the time you get to the meat, there's maybe a quarter left. And they're still profiting, by the way. So it can't possibly be made out of meat. I don't know what it's made out of, but 25-cent meat is meat you shouldn't eat. And you know what happens? I know it tastes good and it's convenient, but you take 3 or 4 bites in and you know you're doing damage to your body. And then the next 3 or 4 days, your stool is like some sort of clear white gel. Like, it's just a bad thing. Have I given a negative enough image of fast food? But, and then it's also not like going to Whole Foods. I mean, we call it Whole Paycheck in Florida. I don't know if they do that out here. But it's not just that, too. I mean, around here, you got all kinds of markets and places you can get your fruits and vegetables. And when you're doing God foods, when you're doing good meats and fruits and vegetables, things like that, it's not that expensive. What gets really expensive are the packaged foods and eating out and things like that. It's not whole food that makes things expensive. By the way, in Whole Foods, I don't know if you guys saw the story recently where somebody in New York, they stole $60,000 from a Whole Foods. Did you see this? But the next day, they actually made it back by selling a banana. So they broke even there. Yep. They do. They only will sell meats now that are killed humanely. So they'll only sell you a meat that was killed by actually showing the animal its Whole Foods bill. So that's how they died. Sorry about that. That joke has pretty much died in all 3 services, but I keep going back to it. So last thing is fitness. How many of you are ready to exercise this year? Ready? We're actually going to exercise this morning. I have a promise for you that you're going to leave here leaner and more fit than you got here. How many people are happy about that? And it's not going to cost you anything. What we're going to do is we're going to do a type of exercise that's much different than what you're used to. Let me show a couple of slides here. First slide. Only in LA would you see this, by the way. Going up the escalator to the gym, bypassing the stairs. Now, this is most people's view of exercise. These people are Satan is leading the class, and he's saying, okay, 5 million leg lifts now, right leg first. They think of spandex and long periods of time and boring long classes, things like that. That is not the type of exercise we teach. We teach something that is short duration but high in intensity, and the idea of it is that it boosts your good hormones. And so when you're done with the kind of workout we're going to do in a second here, your HGH, which is your muscle building, fat burning hormone, your testosterone, these good hormones are going to go up more where God meant them to be, so you become the kind of person that tends to burn fat and build muscle. You know those people who can eat anything they want and they're still ripped? You know those people? Don't you hate those people? I'm not one of them. I have to do the right things. And so the idea here is that this type of exercise makes you more like one of those people. It gives you the ability to naturally have raised good hormones. And so everybody in a second here is going to get on their feet, and we're going to take you through it. And it actually is at 1 minute of expired exercise, something you would do 4 times in a row. So it's literally 4 minutes of exercise a day. And if you did it 3 days a week, it'd be 12 minutes a week, but you'd be getting in much better shape and changing your body's physiology to be more fit and healthy. Is that sounding good, 12 minutes a week? Some of you, I do a lot of other stuff for 12 minutes a week that's not as positive as exercise. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually work out our bottoms first. That's the first thing we're going to do. Yeah, I get cheers for that in every service. Something I did not anticipate. I guess it really is all about the base, about the base, about the base. Doesn't stop. I'm here all week. And then the second thing we're going to train on is we're actually going to do our arms. And so what we're going to do for the arms is we're going to be punching as hard as we possibly can to the air, not somebody's back of their head or anything. But you are going to be thinking about somebody that you don't like's face while you do it. That's the idea. We have to love everybody, but we don't have to like everybody. So this is your chance to get out a little aggression. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to work out our quads as a third exercise. And this reminded me of the other day I was at the pool, and this woman says to her husband, "Does this light make my legs look fat?" And he said, "Yeah, the cellulite." So also hasn't gone that well in any of the services. So I'm just checking off the bad joke list. So everybody on your feet. Everybody up. So we're going 20 seconds at a time. It's 20 on, 20 off. 20 on, 20 off, 20 on. So it's 3 sets of 20. You've got to go all out. This is the last service, so if you don't go all out, we will just keep exercising the rest of the day. So is everybody ready to give this their full effort? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work our bottoms. We're going to squat and jump in the air for 20 straight seconds. Ready, go. 20 seconds up and down. I need a maximum effort. Let's go. 20 seconds. We'll do this till I get tired if you don't keep going. 10 seconds, 10 seconds. You can do anything for 10 seconds. 5, 2, all right, rest, stop. Good job, give yourselves a hand. So you feel that surge going on right now? That's the good hormones, that's the fat burning, that's the muscle building, that's what you're feeling. Okay, we got 10 seconds. The rest part goes a lot faster than the workout part. Ready? Set. This time we're going to be punching. Go. As hard as you can. I want to see some violence up in here. Work those arms. Work those arms. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Do anything for 10 seconds. All out. Good hormones. Good hormones. And stop. Good job. Give yourselves a hand again. The people are starting to really fall apart who have been to all 3 services. I can see it. Now, you guys see how this is working? You can really feel your body transforming right now. Last one is we're just going to squat. We're going to get the quads. Get rid of that cellulite. Go. 20 seconds. Come on, it's just mind over matter. I don't mind and you don't matter. 10 more seconds. Can do anything for 10 seconds. Let's do it. I need an all-out effort. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, good job. Have a seat, have a seat. So then it's just to finish up here, so we have the healthiest year ever. When it comes to exercise, then it's just a question of scheduling it. So if you just say, hey, I think I'll start working out this year, guess what you won't do this year? Work out. But if you say, I'm going to schedule a certain time, several days a week, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5, whatever you plan on doing, however ambitious you are, you schedule the time. So I like to do it first thing in the morning. I exercise, then I do my Bible reading. So I do it 5:10 a.m. Now, for many of you, that's yesterday. That's not even that today. So when you think of 5:10 a.m. But if you're going to do it in the morning, which is what I suggest, so you don't try and squeeze it in later and miss it, the thing most of us have to overcome in this room, whether it's time with God, whether it's exercise, is you have to overcome what happens when the alarm goes off. How many of you would admit right now, just confess before God, that you have a snooze button problem? How many of you have? It's almost the entire room raising your hand. So confession's good. Now, listen, I love that snooze button too, but we have to come in the grips to the fact that 9 minutes of sleep does not make a whole big difference. Neither does 18 or 27 minutes. I want my body to be getting renewed each and every single day, don't you? I want to be moving towards a goal, don't you? I want to be getting closer and closer to God each and every day, don't you? Well, that's what could be happening in that 27 minutes. Something very positive can be happening. I could be becoming that new man that Jesus asked the invalid if he wanted to be. I could be getting more and more fit. And I can tell you again, I blow it, and you're going to blow it too. For me, I'm like Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting at 5:10 in the morning. I can do serious math. Like that thing goes, I go, well, if I hit it 9 minutes, I can change all my schedule for the entire day by 9 minutes when I hit it. In fact, I can hit it again, multiply by pi, and still reschedule everything. I'm brilliant. The other day, just to keep me from doing it, I put my alarm away from the bed. Have you ever done that, to make yourself get up? And it was going beep, beep, beep. I'm like, you know what? I could just dream I'm in a disco club and just kind of get into that. I think I could still do it. Like, I'll do anything to get out of getting up, but I usually do because I know it's just not gratifying to get 9 more minutes of sleep, and I'll regret the fact that I didn't do what I could to get better. Just like your theme is keep getting better. Are we committed to getting better? Now, how many of you are past considering the 5K and marathon, and you're going to do it now? How many of you will take Jesus' challenge? How many of you are saying no to Jesus right now? How many of you? All right. That's good. He'll still love you. He just won't like you that much. Oh, boy. I don't know if I'm allowed to say hardly any of the things I've said. So listen, here's the things that we have set up to help you with that. So starting next week, actually next Sunday at 2 o'clock, Dr. April, who you met earlier, our doctor from the clinic, she will walk you through how to get ready for this event. Now, we have in your training, the reason we can get you from couch to 5K in 6 weeks, or even to a marathon in time, is that we mix in the workouts you just saw here. We mix those into the plan to give them some real juice. And so she can walk you through exactly how those little programs work. We call Max T3, those workouts spread in there, along with how you can get ready to raise that money. We really want to see closer to 200 people do the race this year, where we were closer to 100 last year, and we want to go over 200,000 in collections, where we did 170-some thousand last year. We want to take it to another level. Be good for you, be good for Dream Center, human trafficking, and you're serving God that way. That's how I love to do exercise. So it's serving everybody. We're looking towards getting made new this year. It's a new year. Now, the other thing is, at the end, I will be back there signing books. I think we have like 40 left. Actually, I don't have time. I won't be signing books, but we do have 40 back there. Listen, if anybody needs help, you have Dr. April here. We planted a great resource. I'm happy to be out here. Like I said, this is my church. It's where my heart is, and it is my greatest wish for you that you do be well. Bless you guys.